Welcome to today's episode. Today I have a very special topic which is for most of you probably out of your comfort zone because it's about having a conversation with business executive about digital transformation. Now, when you have the chance or you get time to talk to business executive, the best thing, number one, is that you should remember is don't bring PowerPoints to the game, but actually do a whiteboarding session, have it as interactive as possible. So today I want to introduce to you a framework that I've been taught by a colleague who now lives in Singapore and just reminded me last weekend how much fun and success we had with that framework in Switzerland. And it's really a tool that you can use with any customer regardless of the industry they're in. It's for that very high level, but very applicable to everybody, and you will get a lot of agreement from the customer or from your employer that you actually understand them. So let's dive in. So, digital transformation. So we're looking at this through the lens of the customer lifecycle. Every company, regardless of what the industry is, you have an acquisition piece of the customer life cycle that they come to you, number one. Then you need to deliver either a product or a service, whatever it is that you sell. And then in the end, it's extending that business. Could be cross-sell, upsell, etc., etc. Now, in the context of digital transformation, or why digital transformation even comes up or matters, is because a lot of things have changed in these different phases of the customer life cycle. For example, in the acquisition, it's really the customer who is now in control. What does that mean? Now, the customer can very easily on his smartphone compare pricing. That wasn't possible 20 years ago. The customer can also look up a lot of information, where back in the days we really relied on salespeople to tell us what is the best TV for me, what is the best car, what is the best insurance. And today, most of us do a lot of research online before we even go into the store, and more often than not, depending on the area, you might know more about it than the salesperson hired by that company. So that puts a little bit of a strain on that whole situation of acquisition. Now in the delivery phase, it's all about more with less. We're all familiar with it. Budgets usually not necessarily always go up. Sometimes they flatline. Sometimes we need to cut costs because it's expected that we can increase the output with less investments, less money, less resources all up. And then the extending phase, that is really about differentiation. How do I differentiate myself? Because a lot of products have become commodity. Think about German luxury cars, kind of like a commodity. Does it really matter if it's a BMW, Mercedes or Audi? If you're a fan, I'm absolutely sure it matters to you, but for most people that are in the market for a German premium car, it really depends. Every year, one time they release the fastest car, then they release the fastest car, and then I don't know how you shop or how you determine, maybe it's what the brand stands for, but here, this thing is really what and how do you differentiate. Now, when we look at companies that are very successful in these areas, then there is very clear examples of what they're doing really, really well. For example, in the acquisition piece, companies that are very good at this, they are very great at omnichannel. Omnichannel means is they engage with the customer where the customer is, whenever the customer wants. Could be that my products are available on eBay, Amazon, not just on my website where they have to come to my website because maybe they like to shop for eBay or whatever the reason for that behavior is. But I really have a great omnichannel. I have absolutely basically 360-degree views of my customer, and I can engage with them in a much more relevant way. In the delivery phase, customers that are very good at optimizing this piece, they are very good with using intelligence for next best action. So really, while we're doing jobs, not just like, hey, here's something you need to do or you're out of stock here, it's really like, what should you do next? That is really taking it to the next level with the help of machine learning or AI. The extension piece, it's not just about new products or additional products or cross-sell. This is also about new biz models. And business books are full of examples in this area. Even FedEx and Xerox have come up with whole new business models between I'm just taking your package and delivering, knowing to when, what's the demand, where do they mostly ship, where is your customers mostly if you mainly ship with them. So they created solutions that really helped you to be more efficient in your delivery of your packages. And that is something of a traditional service. I just pick up the package and deliver where you tell me, to really become part of your value chain and actually empower you to be much more efficient with the shipping that you have to do. Now, Microsoft, for example, has 4 pillars of digital transformation. And if we look at in the lens of this framework, we actually will realize that we have a great match. On one side, we have engage customers. It's one pillar. Then we have optimize operations. Then we have transform products. And across all of these, we have the 4th pillar, which is empower employees. And why is this across all segments or stages of the customer lifecycle? Because it doesn't matter if your employees are more focused on the customer acquisition side, delivery side, or basically the differentiation or new product side. You want to make sure they're empowered regardless of where they are. Now, before I make this about product, let me show you a little bit about what is actual impact, some numbers you can throw out. There is research that backs it up, but for example, companies that are really good at omnichannel compared to peers that are basically considered laggards, so they're not engaging in it at all, they have tremendous more impact on this side. So engaging your customer in relevant ways will drive engagement up. Engagement up should drive your win rate, one would hope, up. And that should drive your revenue up. And the number we have here is 100 million between the companies that do it best in comparison to their peer groups that are more on the laggard side. The second pillar, do more with less, is you want to go productivity to go up, you want utilization to go up, you want efficiency to go up, and with all that, your profit margin should go up. And here the number we know is 8% of the people or companies that are great at this versus the customers that are more on the laggard side of things. The extend side, this is where the innovation, and this is very highly depending on the innovation of the company, but a very innovative company that are as good at this, they increase the frequency of introducing new things, they're reducing time to market, and with all of that, they will see an increase in market shares. So you see, at this point, we haven't talked once about products. We haven't talked about the underlying technology that makes this all possible. We're just talking about the challenges, the solutions, what are the benefits companies see that are really well at it. And I promise you, your customers, your employers, they will heavily agree with this if you point it out, if you truly have business executives in the room. Now, let me put a little bit of a product lens to this mix. And that is basically in the Microsoft world. On this side, we have Dynamics 365, specifically sales services. But this is also where marketing falls in, our partnership with Adobe. And here we have Dynamics 365 operations. And then in the extend piece, this is really where the whole universe of Azure comes in, specifically if you think of IoT, AI, could be serverless, everything that you can think of that a company can really leverage. And the beautiful thing about if they choose Microsoft or if it's a customer that just uses Microsoft is that we have across this whole stack a common data layer, which allows all these other products or services that we offer to plug in. Think of Microsoft 365. That plugs straight in. That really is going to empower your customer regardless of in which stage of customer lifecycle they focus on. You have Power BI and many more. And if you look in the traditional sense, what most companies have today is they have maybe something like Salesforce here. I mean, obviously it could be any other CRM marketing solution, HubSpot and anything else. Then you have often in the delivery phase, the ERP is often SAP, Oracle. There is also many more in this space. And then here I'm just gonna put a line of business application, best of breed, very highly customized often or very specific to an industry that are used there. Now, while these systems are integrated, every integration overall has a potential risk. That's just a fact. And one thing I can tell you, if you write risk in red ink on a whiteboard in a meeting with business executive, they most likely want to know more about it. And then, depending on how comfortable you feel, and if you're working for Microsoft or whatever your goal is to do. So this last thing with product is definitely more relevant if you work for Microsoft or for a Microsoft partner and you sell Microsoft services. But let me make it very relevant if you work in IT and you're not working for Microsoft. And for this, I'm gonna very quickly take the product piece and we're gonna move them much more down here. We're gonna go back up here. And so let's assume you work in IT, but you want to become a better partner to the business. You want to show them that you understand the challenges the business face and you want to help. So you could go everything I've drawn right now on the whiteboard up to here you could use. If you want to be critical, you could remove the Microsoft 4 pillars. I would leave it, but that's up to you because they are important. But if you were to remove it or add it later, you can just start from here and say make a line and say, how is it in the present? And then, for example, here in 5 to 10 years, how will it change? What I mean by that is, first of all, understand who is your customer. Is he really your customer or maybe somebody else your customer? In the IT world, what that means, for example, is the consumerization of IT. It was the consumer who brought the iPhone into the enterprise. It wasn't a traditional enterprise play where the enterprise salespeople went business to business, but it's the consumers who really wanted it and say, no, I also want to use this for work. And then IT had to follow and enable these phones that they can be used. So in that sense, if you look from that lens, was the customer really the enterprise or was it the consumer that I should have sold to be successful in that category? The same goes with a lot of other examples, but really understand your customer, what does he want and what does he really want? An example of an e-bike, do I want an e-bike or do I want mobility? Both is possible. If I buy a mountain bike e-bike, I most likely don't just really look for a commute option, but I do want to go out there onto the mountains, but maybe it's mobility. And so then write down basically, I come into the shop currently to buy in extended delivery, that's the maintenance. You sell me every year that I need to come to check in. Delivery is really done through pickup and so on. But if I'm in a city, maybe all I want is mobility. Mobility could be a business model, mobility as a service. Is there a subscription-based thing? Instead of me coming to maintenance to you, could you find an easy and efficient way to provide maintenance wherever I am? That is through remote with IoT maintenance in a e-bike scenario. Is it you taking a service car, coming to me and maintaining it and so on. So there's a lot of different options. And so it doesn't really matter if in your company you run backup or you are responsible for mobile synchronization or the mobile phones, how people access your network. Anyone can draw this, can have that conversation, and it will allow you to help the company transform, because each of these pillars, doesn't matter if it's omnichannel, next best actions, or if it's the differentiation, new business model, the transformation of your product, it all requires technology to make it happen. And that's where you come in. And so you really have a choice. You can wait that, you know, your employer tells us, hey, we have these new bikes, they're now e-bikes with IoT, and you know, we can do remote maintenance or proactive maintenance, and then you execute. Or you can say, you know what, I have a great idea, can I have a meeting with some of our business people, have that, draw it out, have that workshop, and lead the way for digital transformation. Because in the end, if your company is doing well, if you help them to doing well, what better place to be as an employee? I hope this was valuable for you. I know this was a little bit off topic. Usually I gave you very more technical aspects or technical tips, but I do believe it should be helping you regardless of the role that you currently have. So please share it with your colleagues, leave your comments, give me any feedback you want. I always look forward to read what you have to say or read the personal messages, private messages on any of the platforms. I want to say thank you very much for taking time of watching today and enjoy the rest of your day.